Welcome to the Depot Sports Chat. I'm sports editor Drew Rubenstein, and with me today is Ed Owens, our college football beat reporter, and we're 9 days away from WVU's season opener, and Dana Holgorsen promised that he would know who his starting quarterback would be almost a week ago, last Saturday. He still hasn't named that starting quarterback. At this point, do you think he's maybe second-guessing himself, or does he know the direction and he's just not letting us know?
I don't think he's second-guessing himself. That's not something Holgerson's really done in the past. Traditionally, when he picks a starting quarterback, that's who he goes with. So I think he's just trying to wait until the last possible minute, make sure he's comfortable with his decision. And really, I mean, the race came down to the wire between Trickett, Millard, and Childress. And I think it's a tough decision to make, and I think it just shows you how close the race was.
Do you, at this point, and I guess we'll see against William & Mary on August 31st, but are you still thinking Clint Trickett is the guy?
From what we've seen, you have to be thinking Trickett. He started both of the brief workouts that we saw. I was about to call them scrimmages. They weren't really scrimmages, just the few series that we saw during practice. He was working with the first team exclusively, and that's how they ended camp. So from what we've seen, I think Trickett has to be the guy.
Regardless of who it is, Dana Holgorsen did have an interesting comment in one of his press conferences about the Big 12's not lacking star power. It's just that nobody really knows who they are at this point, and said that, hey, the same could be said about his team at this point, and obviously that's clear. It starts with the quarterback position, but it kind of goes everywhere. Dana's offenses have kind of, they've set the stage. Certain offensive milestones, I guess, that they reach every season in terms of passing yards and receiving yards. He always has a quarterback that's up in the upper echelon of the Division I passers. He always has a receiver over the 1,000-yard marker. So let's kind of look at WVU's roster. Obviously, Geno Smith, Tavon Austin, Stedman Bailey are gone. There's quite a few junior college players that are into the mix. Two guys that everybody seems to be talking about that you think are going to make a big impact this season. Who would they be?
I think from the new guys that are coming in to make an impact, you have to be looking at Kevin White, junior college wide receiver. He's come in, he was working with the first team throughout camp, really made a good impression, strong impression early on, and somebody that the receivers, coaches, and the receivers themselves were talking about a lot. Somebody else I think would be Charles Sims, running back out of Houston. He worked with Dana as a freshman. Dana recruited him to Houston, and they had good success there. Sims' best year was under Holgorsen. Now Dana brought him here to West Virginia, and I think they're looking for more of the same.
And I think Charles, of probably even the two, it seems like he is the one that the coaches just gush about. They plan to use him in the backfield and probably in the slot receiver position out wide, kind of a guy who can do anything and everything. They said he could be the best inside receiver, and you also get the sense that they think he's the best running back on the team. So it seems like he's a guy who definitely will get his hands on the ball a lot. Kind of going the next tier, though, WVU wants to be more well-rounded than what it was, maybe is the way to put it, from last year, where they had two receivers and then it was J.D. Woods and then nobody else really contributing at all. There's quite a few intriguing guys. Ivan McCartney's one who comes to mind, but who are some of the guys that maybe people are talking about a little bit, but not as much as Kevin White and Charles Sims, who could fill that void?
Yeah, when Kevin White went down briefly with an injury during camp, KJ Myers really stepped up. Dana said it himself. White went down, I think, for 3 days, and KJ stepped in and really turned some heads and kind of took advantage of the opportunity in front of him. He hadn't been working with the ones, and I think he showed that he could. You mentioned Ivan McCartney. Obviously, he missed the end of last season. He wasn't around. He left the team for personal reasons. He came back now, and he's one of the guys who has experience in this offense and really can kind of come back and take advantage of that too.
And then you look at a guy like Jordan Thompson. What's realistic for a guy like that who last spring came in as a true freshman? The coaches were raving about him. They seemed really impressed with him. And then during the course of the season, things just didn't go well for him. Dropped balls, started not playing much toward the end. He comes back this spring, has another great spring game, but literally the coaches won't say two words about this guy.
Yeah, and I don't think they will. Shannon Dawson said he won't even mention Jordan Thompson until he finds the end zone in an actual game. So I think that kind of shows the standard that they're holding Jordan to this year. I think he can do it. He showed it in camp. He earned the starting spot coming out of camp last year. He showed it in the spring game where he was the leading receiver again. He's got the skills to do it. I think they're just trying to use this as motivation to kind of give him that push in the direction they want him to go.
Mario Alford and Ronald Carswell are two other guys that we've discussed that could fill in one of those voids at inside receiver, and those are certainly guys that emerged during fall camp and guys that were kind of on the radar screen going into fall camp. But what about kind of looking at somebody that maybe hasn't gotten really any attention throughout fall camp, somebody who's maybe waiting there and that you think could really bust on the scene this year?
I think for a breakout this year, for someone no one has mentioned, it's got to be Dustin Garrison for me. The running back position is loaded right now. You've got Dreamus Smith, you've got Charles Sims, you've got Garrison, you've got Bowie, you've got Wendell Smallwood. It's really loaded. But Garrison is fully back, I think, from his ACL injury, which took him out at the end of the 2011 season. He played injured last year, admitted it. He looked great in the spring. He looked even better in camp. I think Garrison's back and ready to go.
So it sounds like you think history will repeat itself and that the 1,000-yard receiver, 4,000-yard passer will again emerge at WVU this season under Holgorsen?
One way or another, they've always found him in the past. I think they'll be able to do it again.
All right, Ed, thanks for joining us. Please continue to check vdpost.com for the latest sports videos. Thanks for joining us.